Hello, everyone. My name is Commodore Tokologo Phetla. I'm the founder and managing director of Expo Africa. We're a locally developed artificial intelligence software business in South Africa, currently with operations in 7 countries, 4 of them African markets, the United Kingdom and Mauritius. And we run an AI with industry application in the media industry. So it's a pleasure to meet you all. I wish we were meeting in person, but unfortunately, COVID is keeping us apart. I hope you all find this presentation insightful and useful, and I look forward to making connections across the African continent so we can, work together in creating locally developed softwares with global application. So I'm just going to go through the presentation and introduce you to what Expo is about and where our business comes from. So before I go into that, I just want to touch on the rise of social media and the opportunity it presented to brands when social media really became big, a decade or two ago. So, when social media came out, a lot of consumers started to live on social media organically. And brands started realizing that, to reach consumers, it became a huge reach platform where you could reach a huge number of consumers in a space that they're comfortable in and interacting on a daily basis. The only issue is that, the ad formats offered on social media platforms were a bit limiting. So, for example, when you want to reach consumers, what do you do now? You run a sponsored brand post, and obviously it's displaying programmatic advertising where your target audience sees your ad. The only issue is that as a brand or account manager, you have no sight of your ad flight. So you have no idea of seeing exactly where your ad is flighting. There are dashboards, obviously, that report on the number of impressions and engagements your ad is receiving, but you have no idea specifically who the audience is, like who is viewing it, is it appearing in the right context? So you might have seen many ads, especially, and that's what probably caused the boycott that's happening now. Many ads where brand safeties are concerned, where there's a political ad and then your brand appears immediately after that ad. So obviously the context may not be relevant. Is the timing relevant? So if I go into Facebook, let's say now, and it's winter here in South Africa at the moment, and there happens to be an ad about ice cream or how refreshing an ice cold Coke will be. You have no idea if the timing is relevant to the consumer. So those are just some of the concerns brand managers, particularly in the 7 markets in which we operate, have raised. What we then did is we partnered with many of the social media platforms to give us unique APIs where we can layer them with our AI software. So the AI is called Expo. You saw with the logo in the first slide that it looks like a face. So Expo is a human being to us. Now, what does Expo do? Expo has 2 main functions. So he has a social listening function layered with AI. So that just means that Expo can detect conversations as they take place on social media in real time and understand and contextualize those conversations, across various parameters such as sentiment, age, gender, location, and so on. And using all of that information, Expo can then start engaging with consumers in real time in a relevant manner within those conversations. So it's a conversational AI. It's been in development for the past 10 years now, since 2010, and we took it to market in 2017. And just in that space of 3 years, Expo now speaks about 7 languages, English, one of them, 6 official national languages of South Africa. So the AI is ever evolving and learning through our unique teaching modules. Now, what separates Expo from bots? Okay, so usually, bots and chatbots on social media, it's common knowledge now. We always like to say that we are not a chatbot. Okay, so as you all know, bots work on algorithms, very binary and Boolean operators, working there, where it's like if this, then that, if this, then that. There really is no learning, that takes place with most bots. And sometimes they can seem very relevant and impersonal. Whereas with Christopher actually self-learns and self-optimizes as he engages with customers on social media. So based on him running a campaign, so in the beginning, you would feed him content the same way you would with a bot. But over time, as he runs the campaign, as he analyzes consumer feedback, collects big data around the social listening, the software starts hyper-personalizing itself and optimizing itself to increase campaign performance. And that is really the difference between Christopher and most social media bots. And I just want to show you how that looks. So Telcom, for those of you who don't know, they're one of the largest state-owned telcos in South Africa. And I just want to show you a journey that we went on with them through Christopher, because I think it uniquely captures the learning process and how the software starts getting better and more intelligent. So this is the social listening aspect at play. Telcom here was running a campaign with us where they're promoting their Wi-Fi and their fiber products, but by plugging them into relevant conversations. So you can see here, this lady saying, I'm really enjoying working from home because I can't listen to the radio when I'm in the office. Okay, this is just an organic conversation. They're not using any hashtag. They didn't tag Telcom. Organic conversation. Telcom then picks up that conversation and says, hi, at the brand, working from home can be great, but not if you're the butt of the online office jokes because of buffering. Get all you need to work and live uninterrupted here. And that's the link to the online catalog. Now, this is just a classic example of Telcom providing us with copy and creative, saying, look for relevant conversations when people say they're working from home and respond. Now, this appears directly to the user. The user will get a notification on Twitter that Telcom just tagged you in their post. And you can imagine the thrill when a normal citizen sees that a big brand or organization such as Telcom is giving them such personalized attention and it being so involved in their conversation on such a personal level, which usually leads to create, positive sentiment and brand uplift. Now, what then happens is that Christopher started learning. So we integrated into a lot of third-party microservices. So Christopher starts learning, and based on all of that big data, this is what you now start seeing. Now you start seeing where Christopher is analyzing conversations taking place in vernacular language. So this here I think is Zulu. Yes, it is Zulu. I don't speak Zulu myself, but I know that this is Zulu. So this is Zulu, for example, the woman saying, Kune weather, and I'm so thankful to be working from home instead of the office, meaning the weather outside is not that great, so I'm thankful to be working from home instead of the office when it's like this. Telcom, Christopher through Telcom then detects that conversation and replies in a relevant manner, by saying, hi, at the handle, keeping warm, mutasi. I think it means keeping warm, friend. Working from home can be great, but not if you're part of the online. Here you can see now the normal brand message coming. But this first line here is completely personalized by the software, by contextualizing what the user's talking about. The software can understand that it was raining that day, and that's why it's saying keeping warm. It was cold, not raining. It doesn't rain in South African winters, but it was cold that day. So it knew that, and using all that data, it could tell that the most appropriate hyper-personalized reply will be to say keeping warm, my friend, and then continue with the brand message. And this is the kind of conversational AI we're talking about, This one saying, only waiting for 4 o'clock plus I'm working from home. The software replies, hi, Dolphy, wachai sesekale mutasi, meaning you're knocking off soon, my friend. And then continues with the standard brand messaging. I mean, this is extremely hyper-personalized, where the software understands that this person, when they say only waiting for 4 o'clock plus I'm working from home, it understands that it means this person is going to knock off soon. And it's so amazing to see AI do this, and self-learn and self-develop through our unique teaching modules. These are just some more examples of that personalization happening. throughout the campaign. Where we can go and where we are going with Telcom is a level of deep community management, not where the software takes over the community manager's role. So as you can see with the previous conversations, the software will tap into conversations that community managers traditionally would not have access to. So they're not mentioning the brand, they're not using any campaign hashtag, just organic conversations taking place on social. Christopher will tap into those conversations and bring it into the brand space. Once it's there, a community manager usually can't take over. But we're building it up to a level where through all the learnings, the soft Christopher can be a community manager as well. So for example, once we reply to a user, right, as I've shown you now the examples, usually the users reply back asking for more information. But sometimes the community managers miss this level of engagement simply because it's maybe too much, and they can't get to all of it. Christopher can then supplement that gap and supply the information as you see here. So it can go deeper in terms of conversational layers, and all it needs is information. And that's just another example. Now I'd like to show you how we applied this for and with the South African government during the coronavirus outbreak in late March, early April. So we were thoroughly impressed, when we saw the AI being able to execute this type of messaging. But what basically happened here is that the South African government announced a national state of disaster. That we're going into lockdown level 5, which is the worst lockdown in South Africa. Many citizens were obviously concerned, how will this affect my life? And they had many questions. Obviously, most of them on social, and no amount of community managers, could manage this kind of traffic. Now, you can see here, this is just a citizen asking an organic question. Is IT essential services? Most IT technicians are working, or is it only government ones? Traditionally, even the government community managers would not be able to detect this conversation because, again, they're not tagging the SA government Twitter handle. They're not using any campaign hashtag. This is just an organic conversation taking place on Twitter. But because they were using Christopher detected that this is a relevant question with regards to COVID and the regulations around it. It then replied and gave some clarity to say, hi, at the handle. If you have any queries about what an essential service is and if it applies to your sector, you can get in touch with provided information. And as you can see, the user liked that. Same place here. So this user was expressing some concern that people are unemployed and losing their jobs because of the economic lockdown, which took place during our level 5 lockdown. And Christopher detected that conversation, understood it, and replied and said, hi, Tabile, the Unemployment Insurance Fund has created a special COVID-19 temporary employer-employee relief scheme with over 30 billion to provide income support to workers and so on. And as you can see, people liked that and started interacting with that message. What this did for the South African government was phenomenal, in terms of sentiment change among citizens. They started feeling like the government is actually responsive. The president didn't just make one speech with very high level information and then leave it at that. They felt that the government was responsive, on their feet, addressing them on social media in such a personalized manner. So sentiment uplift was great. Citizens started feeling more secure that, okay, these guys know what they're doing. They're looking out for us. It was phenomenal how this changed attitudes in our country during the time. And because of the success of that, all the provincial health departments started reaching out to us to say, hey, we also need the software, but only specific to people in our province. So Gauteng is one of it's the economic hub of South Africa. And you can see here, this is a Gauteng citizen saying, not even this flu can stop me from eating. You, ngisthandela kudla, shame. Meaning not even this flu can stop me from eating. You, I love eating, shame. And the Gauteng Health Department detects that conversation and say, hi, Karabo, eat, meaning hi, eat. Hope you get well soon. Your actions can save lives. Play your part in stopping the spread of coronavirus. Read more here. So, and she replies, we'll do, laugh out loud, thank you. Now here you can start seeing the humor of the software coming through. It was starting to pick up that in Gauteng, off the back of the SA government campaign, people were starting to be more humorous about COVID in terms of the way they spoke. And the software adapted itself to that. and clearly the user then resonated with that kind of messaging. Another message here, my head is pounding. Did someone not just say that's also a symptom? Obviously a symptom of COVID. The software knew that, and it replies and says, hi, at Matepo, the symptoms of COVID are similar to that of a common cold or flu. These symptoms gives them the symptoms, seek medical attention, if you experience any of them. It also attaches the creative of all the symptoms. And obviously she replies and says, thank you. Now, and this is citizen engagement at its best, particularly in South Africa, where you are addressing citizen concerns on such a personal level with relevant information. And at Christopher, this is what we believe in. We believe in a term we call pull marketing. So traditionally, advertisers work on push marketing, where we sit in a boardroom and we decide that we're running this campaign, we're gonna put it out there and almost like shove it down consumers' throats or citizens' throats, that this is what they need to hear now because this is our campaign. Whereas with Christopher, the consumer creates the opportunity for you to advertise via the organic conversation. And when you advertise, you're also advertising organically. So it's a pull effect where the consumer pulls the brand in rather than a push effect. And in terms of where marketing and advertising is heading, we feel that AI is pivotal in marketing and advertising. Plenty of reports show that marketing brand managers worldwide are starting to adopt AI traditionally and fundamentally because of its capability to personalize. And more of advertising now has to be personalized in order for consumers to resonate with that ad and act on it. And obviously, AI helps with data and providing insights from that data. So Christopher works currently on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. We integrated into Google Lens image and video recognition and Microsoft Azure microservices to kind of get video recognition capabilities. And just about me, so as I said, we started developing Christopher from 2010. That's when I was exposed to technology, software, and for the first time I was exposed to the narrative that Africa is the dark continent. And I never liked that narrative because I asked myself, why do they say that? And for me, my own answer was, it's probably because we do not produce globally competitive and exportable technologies. And that's when I decided that that is going to be my mission, to create a globally competitive technology that is exportable, globally priced, globally competitive. And I'm glad to say that Christopher is getting to that level. We're currently in 7 countries and we're growing and currently white labeling the software so it's available internationally, which should happen in maybe the next 2 to 3 months. And so that was the main reason we started, investing a lot of our time into Christopher. Now, as to why it's called Christopher, I will get into that at the end. And also why I'm called the Commodores. I'll get back to those two in the end. These are just some of our clients, that we work with in the country. Some of the agencies we work with global agencies across the country. I just want to play you a short video to show you, so you can get context into why we call our software Christopher, and then we close off the presentation.
You theorized a machine that could solve any problem. It didn't just do one thing, it did everything. It wasn't just programmable, it was reprogrammable. Is that your idea behind Christopher?
Well, human brains can compute large sums very quickly. Even Hugh can do that, but I want Christopher to be smarter. To make a calculation and then to determine what to do next. Like a person does. Think of it. Electrical brain. A digital computer.
Digital computer.
So that was a movie, that's from a movie called The Imitation Game. And it's a movie covering the journey of Alan Turing. So Alan Turing was a British mathematician and physicist who actually is acknowledged as the father of modern computer science. So he created the world's first machine learning and computer algorithm. So during World War II, it was basically Germany and its allies versus Britain and its allies and the US and so on. And Germany had a machine called Enigma. Now, Enigma encrypted German Morse code signals. So the allies never knew what Germany was trying to do, whereas Germany could intercept the allies' communication. So obviously that presented a huge strategic disadvantage. Alan Turing developed a machine that could decrypt Enigma, and the allies could then know German attacks, what's going to happen. And he's also credited for basically shortening the war by many years and saving millions of lives because of that development. And he called that first computer Christopher. So that is where we get our inspiration, from minds like this, where it's computer science for a purpose. And in terms of myself, the Commodore came. The Commodore means the highest ranking captain of a fleet of ships. And my business partners gave me that name. I'm the youngest out of all of them. All my partners are, I think the youngest one is 41 now. And they're media legends in South Africa. They started Prime Media and all these big businesses. And, when we partnered, my friends particularly thought, wow, I'm almost a Commodore, like the captain of industry. So that's where the name comes from, as well as the hat. You could see my picture, I was wearing the hat. I'm wearing a hat here. I'm always wearing a hat. And that is our story. I'm 26. So we still have many more years in industry to really become leaders in this field, across Africa, and put Africa as one of the world leaders in media technology, particularly. So thank you very much for your time and attention and for listening to us. If you'd like to catch up with me more, learn more about our story, or if you have any input to give us, or if you'd just like to make a connection, feel free to meet up with me in the speakers lounge for any question and answers. And I look forward to interacting with all of you. Do make sure that when you join the speaker lounge to chat with me, you have a whiskey or a wine or beer